Hello friends, let's take a look at Tezos, and you can see here 4-hour chart. Let's go with 24-hour chart, and we're looking against the Bitcoin prices, and we've kind of come down here towards our lower end target. Yesterday's video, it ended up coming down here towards this after filming towards the 2400 level, not quite fully down there, as you can see, coming down as far as 25, and we did kind of say maybe 25, whatever, like it was 24.90 is where that line is. So if you're coming down to 25.20, I'd say is close enough in terms of having got down at the bottom of this part. Can we now potentially be looking towards the upside of this as a 28,000? Well, as time goes by and you put in these lows here, like this low is definitely lower than this low, although we're still kind of consolidating. It feels a little bit less positive really overall, and maybe that's starting to get a bit more greedy, and instead I'd maybe look towards the and this is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor really, this 55 EMA in around here, where you've got the sort of 2,700, 2,777 with all the sevens there, just so you can go for the fun of it. But that in around that area, 2,700, and from here, and that's good enough in terms of if you were long in it from anywhere down towards the bottom up there, you're looking at 10%, like 8.9% is good enough, right? And likewise to the downside, you could have easy enough to manage shorts if you're getting in and around any over that area. And you can see the 21 EMAs coming in just there as well, the top part of this, which is, so that would be a decent enough shorting target for anybody. So but it's like I was saying, this is still a lower low than over here, and whether or not we're still consolidating and making in a some sort of formation, like I don't know, like this this triangle kind of here, then that like we could maybe be waiting and looking for some sort of breakout, or we could just be trending to the downside. And if that was happening, then the trend is to the downside. Feels like it's not getting any stronger. If we look towards this, you can see it's not really getting any stronger, and if we look towards this, we can see that there is potential for bullish divergence to be starting to show up. What about the RSI? Yeah, again, like there's tiniest touches of this bullish divergence if this is a low, but then again, it could still just be consolidating. So we don't know where the story is going. If we're going to consider this to be the low or not, we've not quite decided on that yet. But we know what we're operating in terms of our range and everything else. And by the way, nobody ever went bust taking profit. If you did actually think to yourself, it's like some point during yesterday's video that you would short it down to there, and you took 6% profit, then good on you. And then say if you did decide that you'd get in long there, and then you got out here at 2.5% profit, there's no shame in it. Nobody ever went bust taking profit. I'm not telling you how to trade. You have to decide that entirely for yourself and all the rest of it. Again, now looking over here towards the dollar prices, and I was kind of thinking the same sort of thing with Chainlink. Is it really fair to say that this is some sort of breakout happening? Well, the volume hasn't stacked up to that. I think you need to see an awful lot more. We are just in and around testing this 236 or the 786 retracement area here. The 786 is the square root of 618, and the 886 as well is another one of these things that people use. Have I got 886 on here? No, I don't. I'll just hijack one of these ones as the square root of 718. Now, I'm not massive into all this sort of jazz. I'm not really, even though I seem to have them on every chart these days. But you can see in and around this area as well, is where a lot of people maybe would have thought the prices could have turned around at. And looking back to the past, you can see as well this line I've just added comes in and seems to operate as sort of support in there. So if you were to have a breakout, kind of what we're just looking to chat about here from this area, you'd be looking at going past both of these, and I feel like that's kind of maybe too generous as well, and the volume doesn't really add up. So I've got to wonder if that's the case really, or if it's actually something more like this, which has then got a lot more space left in it, and a breakout from it would look slightly different. as well, and a measured move in it would obviously then be smaller, and it could be coming from higher up and whatever else. So maybe these things, maybe that's more of a realistic sort of downside target, and if that was the case and we used it for the upside as well, then there's just a whole heck of profit taking targets in between times, and it really depends on how greedy you want to be. Should you actually go for some sort of breakout here? Now, of course, I wouldn't ever play a breakout just from the line itself, unless I was using that line really strictly for risk management and everything else, because I'd imagine the potential for retest and whatever else. But if I did, and manage my risk here with, say, just like a couple % down and look towards the upside, is a question, like I said, of how greedy you want to be. Up to there's this level here, 230. That's a 30% increase, 20% increase there, 10% increase there. It depends on how greedy you want to be. But again, though, the sort of the easiest way to do these, and people look at triangles, they always talk about breakouts first. Just bear in mind that there's 15% a range inside the triangle, even for the next few days. And those targets are far easier to hit. And if you just actually even don't go for the top end of that triangle and just go from the 236, for instance, and down towards the lower end here on the lower end trend line, for instance, then you're talking about a solid 10% move, really easy to do trading. I'm not financial advisor, none of this financial advice, where you get to manage your risk at a really easy to manage, like a distinct point of where you can say there's a reason for it and confluence and everything else. And that's kind of enough there. So let's take a look at the differential in the prices. 162 there, 139 there. So we're talking 22 cents is a bigger differential in the prices than we've seen of late over on HitBTC. Yeah, is that BTC? Yeah, and we're just below the 200 simple moving average here. This is the 200 simple I've got on at the minute here, the white dotted line. We're just below here, so we're looking towards these two areas: the 236 of $1.55, and this the $1.43 here, and as our first sort of targets towards the upper side to try and get them to act as support. We're still consolidating overall, and the same chat from the other chart applies over here, but there's multiple different ways of looking at this here currently. You could even just sort of use that 236 there as your upper side line here, and go for anything in and around this. But it doesn't really, again, it's not really that sort of fundamental to what's going on here. We're kind of just going sideways at the minute and looking to try and figure out where the price of this thing ought to be. And when you're looking at $1.39 there and $1.63, 60, it's almost like, if you were to round up, it'd be 64, and over on Coinbase, you're talking about a big disagreement in the way that the price is operating. If you just flick between the two charts and you see this here and this candle, for instance, for today here, would start down here all the way up, and that body there compared to this huge wick over here, how different and vastly different these things look. Went all the way down to $1.10 there at its lows, and on its lows on Coinbase was $1.40. So you're talking about like a huge percentage difference just as an arbitrage opportunity between the two exchanges. Means that it's very difficult for anybody to really make a proper clean assessment of this, right? Because there's conflicting information coming at us from the market itself, the free market. So it's very difficult to say where things are going currently at the minute, but you can see that the prices have spread out, and that seems to happen a wee bit around these inflection points, and that if we see it's really hard to make an assessment off the back of it. The prices are spread out right now, and the price action over here is certainly odd, and there is a sort of slight upward slope, but the upward side target of 242, 243 might have an impact across other exchanges as well. And bearing in mind that this is so much closer to the 236, that if we see one of them make it, especially if the HitBTC one makes it, then I imagine the US dollar, the Coinbase one would have made it first. So if we see this kind of open and close above it, then we'll get potentially this price is dragged up a bit. It's really hard to say. I wonder, let me know in the comments down below where anybody actually trades this. Is anybody trading this over here on HitBTC at all and noticing the differences? I think it's crazy. Let me know your thoughts as well about the differential in the prices and how you think things are going at the minute. I'm still just looking towards the 236 really on Coinbase as my sort of first sort of idea of things are going, or indeed if this turns into a breakout to the downside. HitBTC is like it's like it acted like as if it was a breakout to the downside just earlier on today. with this wick over here. I'm sure people were panicking at that time, when over here it would have looked like potentially with this earlier setup. I can't remember even how it was earlier. Like maybe we're breaking out or something, but we were just not. It's still just sideways. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video, and let me know your comments down below about what you think and how you're trading it yourself. Thank you. I'll see you next time.